I signed for them after the Euros, and after my first day's training, I was driving home. I was actually thinking,
regretting it.
What have I done? Like I walked into a circus.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Let's start with Kylian Mbappe, Johnny. The latest news on Kylian Mbappe is that Real Madrid are withdrawing from talks and hope to bring the French star to the Bernabeu next summer, when he will be available for nothing. With his deal due to expire at the end of the season, did Paris Saint-Germain make the right decision to keep him even if he leaves for nothing next summer?
I don't really know how to answer this, but probably yes, buy themselves a bit of time. Are they that driven by money at this stage?
I mean, they're clearly not. They've obviously poured
Petro
money
state and all
down
that.
the black hole of agents. And there's a story in all the papers today, in all the English papers, about how much money English clubs have lost over the last decade.
On agents?
No, on transfers.
Yeah.
Have you seen the figure?
No.
Have a guess.
Absolutely. Like,
in the last 10 years, how much are English clubs out? How much have they lost? So there was a story that if Daniel James joins Leeds,
yeah,
it'll be the fourth transfer in the last 10 years that Man United have. Stop Googling it.
No, I'm not. I'm just...
You're just checking your email.
It's quite a complex thing here, trying to get the running order up. But yeah, I'm working.
Don't worry about the running order. You just be present.
God, phones are very addictive.
What are you going to do about that addiction, Johnny? Turn it over. Go on. So you can't see it. That's it. Now, do you feel okay, or are you a little bit...
Okay, I still love you.
Are you a bit anxious? You are a bit anxious?
No. Go ahead.
Are you sure?
What are we talking about?
Exactly.
Daniel, Craig...
Yeah, Craig David. If Daniel James gets transferred for 30 million quid, it's one of 4 transfers in the last 10 years that Manchester United have made a profit on. And I think Karl Anka tweeted that, and it might have been somebody else's thing yesterday. So essentially, Man United have lost money on all the rest of their transfers.
Yeah.
Now, how much do you think combined English clubs have lost in the last 10 years on transfers? So I buy Coutinho for 25 million, I sell him for 140 million, right? That's a 80 million profit, whatever.
God, it's a massive net loss, isn't it?
Whatever. So, give me a figure. What ballpark are you in?
I mean, it's very early in the morning for this. Surely this should be a discussion for the pub where you make an outlandish suggestion and people just forget about it. God,
welcome to the show. It's been a while.
Is the figure like completely bonkers to you?
Yeah, unless you actually sit and think about it for a few minutes.
How many? 10 years is this?
Yeah.
Oh, it's like 10 years. You must be talking well into the billions anyway.
I mean, keep going. Between 2011 and 2020.
Like this, I don't know, 20 billion or something?
5.2 billion sterling.
I was thinking in euro just to make it a little bit better. But yeah, it's crazy. Like it's the one issue with the...
670 million of that has gone on agents' fees.
Yeah.
If you were a kid interested in football who was no good at football and you were 16 or 17, what would your ambition be at this point? Oh, I want to manage the international team. I want to be an agent. I want to blink sideways, tell everybody they're amazing, and pocket 670 million sterling.
It's interesting, well, like, so I'd be the Galway United media officer, and a guy emailed us saying that he was representing one of the Galway United players. Now, bear in mind, Galway United are second tier in the League of Ireland. And already some of these kids have like agents or advisors or agencies. And this guy was just asking, could his agency tag our player in a tweet, for argument's sake? And in fairness, I was kind of like, I feel old here because I don't know how these organisations work anymore. But in fairness to your man, he was being quite polite about it. And I think the message back from the club was, that's fine. But even at that level, so you're not talking about the lads making 40 million from a transfer. That it's everywhere.
Yeah. Okay. You let him do it, obviously.
Yeah, but to be fair, like, the agent won't be promoting the player a bit as well. Yeah. So we're promoting an asset from.
Oh, totally.
I think it's obscene at the top level though. Like, what the advantage that agents like, what pros versus cons do you have with regard to agents and football? Like, I'd imagine. Look at the money that's been spent on these lads. Like, they're making more than countries.
They are.
What I mean.
Some of them are, anyway. Okay, so Mbappe, PSG are right to keep him.
Yeah, like, because as I say, I suppose I'm not sure the financial kind of consideration is that big, and maybe they can potentially buy a bit of time as well, and nobody wants to lose Mbappe.
I see you trying to turn over the phone there. You had to think about it for a second.
I was just caressing it there.
Yeah. How addicted are you on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you can't live without it?
No, I try to be good at the phone, because I'm.
Is it
You know the way they say, like,
night?
the first stage is denial. Like, I'm not denying it, but
You're there.
I'm extremely conscious of the fact that, you know, world travel and, you know, Ireland is the land of 100,000 welcomes. And I can't believe, like, I went to country A and it was amazing, but everywhere you go now, everyone's on their phone. So, like, if you were on the subway in New York, if you go for a coffee in New York, do anything in New York. I'm just naming New York because New York was the worst I've seen. Everyone's on their phone. So it's like New York and Ireland, we're going to be all the same now, in that we're going to be no different to each other. We're going to be basically a bunch of zombies who just spend all day on their phone. And these are adults, not to mind the kids who've been basically brought up with phones, because we weren't.
Would you go back to an old Nokia brick?
I was actually at a gig recently, an outdoor kind of gig, talking to a lad from Kerry. And telling him that Kerry were possibly going to win the All-Ireland this year, obviously. And he had a Nokia phone, as did his missus. And I was like, that's amazing. But I love WhatsApp. Like, WhatsApp is... I'm not on social media, but, like, I turned off notifications on WhatsApp so that I wouldn't be told when there's a message coming. But I actually think that's worse now, because I end up just checking it to see if there are messages. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
I think WhatsApp is great, but anyway. It's also very addictive.
And stalking every single move you make.
Yes.
It is watching it, Johnny. Your phone is watching it. We have new details about Ronaldo's salary at Old Trafford. Back to the business at hand. 17 minutes past 8 this morning here on OTB AM. At 36 and on a reported 480 grand sterling a week. Is this a wise move? And what would you rate the transfer out of 10?
It's an awful lot of money for a lad at that age. So I'm kind of fluctuating a bit on this. Joe Malloy made a very good case against it yesterday.
The back page headline, the good headlines from the Mirror this morning. Ronaldo. It's obviously Ireland firing line. His teammates vowed to help Cristiano break world record, and 40 winks is the headline here, because this is good. Cristiano Ronaldo could be set to play for Manchester United until he's almost 40. He wants to cash in and keep cashing in. He thought he was going to have to go and play in America to get this kind of money, but it turns out he can get it in Manchester.
Just genuine question.
Probably live in Portugal.
What is Ronaldo going to do with this money? Like, genuinely. I mean, and this is what's kind of wrong with the world. Like, why would you want more money at this stage? Like, the earth is burning. We've massive problems ahead. Yet you want to earn another half a billion a week.
Do you think New Zealand might let Ronaldo in? He might be one of those people who they make an exception for because of his money and talent.
Just in there to earn.
Well, New Zealand is where all of the rich people think that they're going to be able to ride out the climate crisis. And New Zealand have been like, we don't like the fact that you're doing this, so we'll only let you in if you give us 100 million each.
So New Zealand is put forward as one of these places that'll be relatively unharmed, and that's a very, very loose term. Relatively, Ireland is probably in a reasonable position.
Are we not just an island? As the sea rising, does that not just like...
Well, we're going to go more inland, I'd say, but yeah, like, I was just spoken to somebody recently about, like, owns a gaff in Blackrock, and he's like, well, I don't know, should we be here long term, because given 2050 we could be in trouble. And nobody seems to... It's always like, oh, don't worry about that, it'll be grand. But
deal or no deal?
Peter's in the hard to earn.
Peter wants to know, is this new section phone or no phone? This is no phone, Johnny. Put it down. We have 2 quick Man United updates. So you haven't given me an out of 10 for Ronaldo.
I don't know. I'm going to be sitting on the fence here, 5. A lot of things can probably go wrong with this as well. For Solskjaer, I think, as well, because Solskjaer has backed himself into a bit of a corner with this, because it needs to work. Ronaldo's too big for it not to.
2 quick Man United updates. Diogo Dalot is now expected to stay at the club, having come off the bench at the weekend. Solskjaer fighting to keep him at Old Trafford. Dan James is expected to swap Manchester United for Leeds in a deal worth 24 million. Smart move for Leeds or no?
Yeah, I like that move, and Bielsa, I think, can get the best out of him. He's just he's an exciting player, and I think he will buy into that work ethic. They're an insanely hard working team. I like Daniel James. I'd give that that's a good deal, I think.
Leeds have wanted him for a while. They've finally got their man. If Bielsa wants you, you must feel pretty good about life.
Yeah, that's when you're courted by Bielsa. I think that gives you a bit of a boost.
Conor Harrington has moved from Villa to Sheffield United, a loan deal for the full season. Is this a smart move for the Irish midfielder, and how important will he be as Ireland evolve under Stephen Kenny?
Well, like, we don't have midfielders that are like James McCarthy. I mean, so like James McCarthy, I thought would feature quite heavily under Stephen Kenny, but he just never seems to be really fit consistently. So Conor Harrington is a player that I think will play. He's not going to play in the Premier League, so I think this is a good move for him. He can pass the ball. He's very good at set pieces, which is important. With Duffy coming back into the team, even more important. Robbie Brady's obviously out in the cold at the moment, so Harrington's set pieces are going to be very important. And he can pass the ball. So yeah, I think this is a good move, joining the Irish contingent. A few little Irish kind of enclaves now happening at the likes of Sheffield United, West Brom and so on.
We have a few other Irish updates as well. Harry Arter out of favour at Forest, being linked with a loan move to Charlton Athletic. Cyrus Christie out of favour at Fulham, being linked with Stoke City. Shane Long
was also linked with Italy, I think, yesterday, and Robbie Brady with Turkey.
They should go, right?
Well, Italy, yeah. I mean, Turkey's... Would you move to Turkey?
Yeah, I think for a year or two, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very different, very, very different culture now. I mean, to be like, I think that is a consideration. It's not like, oh, well, he's a footballer, it doesn't matter. It does matter. Like, if you're going to Italy, like, do I want my job in Italy or Turkey? I'd probably want it in Italy, but...
Shane Long and Michael Obafemi both struggling to get game time at Southampton. Hassan Hüttel wants to keep them both at the club for now. Do you expect either of them to play many matches for Southampton?
Long, no, not long at this stage. Anyway, Obafemi, probably no to both, to be honest.
Okay. We'll have the latest news on those potential Irish moves on the OTB Sports app across the day. It is deadline day today. Adama Traore has linked up with super agent George Mendes to try and manufacture a move away from Wolves to reunite with Nuno Espirito Santo at Spurs. How would he fit in at Spurs?
That's interesting. Spurs have made a great start, to be fair. I think kind of slightly written off over the Harry Kane thing.
But they've got him back. I mean, I would expect him to score a lot of goals this year because he wants to force the move next year. And there's a World Cup at the end of 2022, which I think we've kind of forgotten about just momentarily as the Premier League bright lights have blinded us all to it.
It's also the whole Qatar thing. It's like...
Yeah, but we're less than 18 months away. It's a World Cup. It's going to count. So at the end, somebody will be hosting that trophy.
Deeply immoral World Cup. And so I think it's the
Absolutely.
one World Cup that Kenny's team, like, if it's the one World Cup I wouldn't be that bothered about us being there or not. And that's a cop-out, but genuinely wouldn't
Well, don't
be
worry. I mean, lucky you feel that way, Johnny.
Portugal 0, Ireland 1.
Well,
Ireland are right back in the race.
I don't want to go anyway.
You got to see where I'm coming from there.
Oh, 100%.
Like the Qatar World Cup is the greatest joke of all time. How would you build a stadium in a country of like a couple of million people, whatever it is, mainly expats? There's no future for this whatsoever, beyond all the fact that like we've all these like labour cases or whatever and migrant workers and yada yada. It's just an absolute joke.
Sports washing works. That's why that World Cup is there. But sports washing has worked all the way back, probably since the 1930s, the Berlin Olympics. Look, that's the whole point of it. Very early on, people realised that twinning sport and nationalism is a really good idea because people get distracted by it. And it works. Last year, the Champions League, the quality of football in some of those games was absolutely off the charts. I expect it to be even better this year, and it'll be better the year after that as the best teams get all the best players and the best coaches, and the evolution of the game lists towards attacking play versus defensive play. And we'll be sitting there on our couch consuming, buying, doing what we're supposed to do, checking our phones, slowly dying, our brains leaching from our ears,
as the world burns.
Football's amazing, isn't it? Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It
very,
is
very positive Tuesday morning spin on life there.
It's just the truth.
It is the truth.
You come looking for truth bombs here. Adama, I think, as a Villa fan, like we saw the short period of time, he is absolutely sensational.
He's incredibly quick.
But also prone to missing one-on-ones. If he could score those one-on-ones, he'd be one of the best footballers in the world. But he can't score enough of them.
That is the one thing I like to ask coaches, like, can you literally just coach somebody to do that? And seemingly you kind of can't. I
don't buy that. I think you can coach anybody anything if they're willing to learn and they're humble enough to like go and practice and practice and practice and practice and practice. Because Thierry Henry learned it. Like, he definitely got better and better and better at it as time went on. His confidence, you get your eye in. I think you can coach all of that stuff. Oh, you either have it or you don't. Like, you don't. That's nonsense.
Well, you can coach it, but it doesn't mean you'll still be a natural finisher either.
No, but you don't have to be natural. Like, just
do a 7 out of 10 even.
Happy days.
Yeah.
Mundo Deportivo report that Barcelona are continuing their efforts to bring right back Hector Bellerin to Catalonia. Real Betis are also trying to sign the graduate of the Barca youth system. How much of a loss would Bellerin be to Arsenal at this point?
Yeah, well, apparently Arsenal are, like, there's Willian as well, obviously. Scatter of players are leaving. I think one of the back pages this morning says Arteta has like 5 games to sort it out.
Well, I'm going to get to that in a second. Go on, yeah.
Yeah, so Bellerin has in general been seen as a very kind of good, stable influence in a team that kind of maybe lacks that. But I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a sign of where Arteta is at. That he might leave, but he'd be a good signing for whoever. I don't know where he's going to go, but he's a good player, Bellerin, a good solid defender.
Yeah, and look, I think if he got a move to Barcelona, you might see that his career kicks on another level, because there was a period of time where Bellerin was the hottest name in right back subreddit, and that the heat has kind of come off his name. So maybe you get to Barca and things change again for you.
Arsenal were deplorable defensively. Just, it should be pointed out, they've issues with, a lot of it is a cliche in terms of they lack leaders, and like Xhaka's tackle was a disgrace for a captain on Saturday. But defensively, I mean, that's one thing I would worry about with Arteta. Like, you got to defend better than that, because going forward, they're probably not so bad. But their defending was so bad for the City goals. It was a joke.
I don't know if you were able to hear the commentary if you were already on air, but they were making the point that it's likely they had one training session to be able to implement the game plan with the 3 at the back and the 2 wing backs, or the 5 at the back, and that's probably not a great position to be in.
No, taking on Man City.
Like
Ireland will probably be playing 3 at the back, which is kind of back in vogue.
Well, I think we have the players for it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of 3 at the back, to be honest, in general, but we'll see. Like, I think it just leaves you so exposed at times. And, like, Shamrock Rovers were badly caught out with their wing backs being so high up the pitch in Europe this year. And if midfielders, then you've so much... Like, who are our defensive midfielders if things break down? So if we're in a kind of an aggressive advanced passage of play and the ball breaks down, you've this massive hole back then to, like, where are our defenders? We've 3 centre backs, the full backs are way up the pitch.
You hope that John Egan steps up into midfield and he is there, or you hope that one of the full backs who is on the opposite side has stepped into midfield. Like, if
the 2 full-backs will be forward, though, and it's not natural for a centre-back to say, I'm going to step up here and go into the hole, because they're naturally, and also they're Irish, so they're going to start retreating. Do you know what I mean, though? It's like, it's in our, and it's a major problem
in our DNA.
And it has been a problem in Kenny's teams, and the people who say, I still respect the opinion that we could play a more sort of pragmatic standard of football and try and get 0-0 draws and all that. In fairness, like, because our results haven't been good. With Kenny teams, if you play adventurous and the ball breaks down, you have to be able to come into defensive positions and not have these massive holes in midfield, and that'll be obviously it'll be tested in Portugal.
It was reported last week that Arsenal boss Mikel Arteta had 5 games to save his job, but now 5 minus 1 is 4.
Wow.
The Telegraph today reports that he has 4 games to save his job following the 5-0 loss to Manchester City. They are good at maths at the Telegraph. Will Mikel Arteta save his job? Is there any sign he can get things back on track, Johnny?
Yeah, I think, like, this has been called a disastrous start, but, like, realistically they've lost 1 game against Brentford. The other 2 they lost against Chelsea and Man City, and the Man City game you can kind of nearly write that off. I would suggest that their next 2 games are very winnable in the league, and I think he'll be in a much. If they don't improve in the next 4 games, I think he will be gone. But I expect that they will improve because the fixtures are more favourable. But yeah, he's like, it's just when you see your captain making a tackle like that, like, it's just so stupid. You're like, well, you got to ask questions of the coach then, because Xhaka's, like, literally just ruining everything about that game when you're 2-0 down and now you're down to 10 men. So this is just an exercise in complete self-destruction. So they need to pick up, but I think they will. I don't think they're as bad as they look.
Will says, I don't think I've ever seen as concerted a media effort in support of a manager. Literally every journo in Ireland wants Kenny to succeed and have shunned any criticism. The only one that has been halfway realistic on Kenny is Daniel McDonnell, who wants Kenny to succeed but is actually analysing the results for what they are.
The stuff about Kenny, it is interesting in that the journalists, so the football journalists in this country, a lot of them are from a League of Ireland background, I think, or a lot of them are sympathetic towards League of Ireland or go to League of Ireland matches, which means a lot of them would have probably had something of a relationship with Stephen Kenny that they mightn't necessarily have with other managers. And I highly doubt, I didn't go to Ireland press conferences, but I highly doubt Martin O'Neill was chums with the Irish journalistic beat, and was often quite kind of spiky in some of his interviews, obviously with Tony O'Donoghue in particular, that comes to mind. So there is, I think it's true that Kenny has a good relationship with League of Ireland journalists in general, but that only gets you so far.
Oh, and there's also a coterie of people who want him out,
Who though? Like how many? Like I hear this all the time. Oh, we're split into camps. Like, but I don't really like. It's not that many people are.
Well, I mean, there is no more prickly a bunch of people than hacks who are accused of being in one camp or another. But you can all read your own papers and make your own mind up about who wants Kenny to succeed and who actually thinks that we'd be better off with Mick or a Mick-style manager or Robbie. Maybe the new Mick is Robbie. I don't know. But it'd be good to see Robbie managing somewhere so we can actually get a sense of what his managerial style is going to be. But there is definitely a bunch of people who are not. Like the notion that there is... like we've been looking at the results going, he needs to get results. Like he needs to show that there is an outcome that is positive from the football that we're trying to play, and that the message is getting across to the players.
Absolutely, but like that could be anyone. You know, it's not necessarily Stephen Kenny thing. If we're losing 1-0 at home to Luxembourg, who weren't incredibly bad, but like at the same time, if we're losing 1-0 at home to Luxembourg, like that was a very, very low experience for me as somebody who wants Stephen Kenny to work. As somebody, it's not only a Stephen Kenny League of Ireland thing though. Like I don't really care who's manager of Ireland, but I do care about how we play. And like I was disgusted with the way we've been playing football, and I don't want us to qualify for tournaments playing football that's caveman stuff that's horrible to watch. I don't want that. I'd prefer us not winning games and playing a better style, being honest with you. With a view to the long term. You can't sell
tickets to that, yeah.
You can't, but it's like, we are in the business of entertainment, and there's not, like, some of the games under Mick at Lansdowne Road, there wasn't a bad vibe in the ground, but generally over the last 10 odd years between Trapattoni and Martin O'Neill,
the vibe has kind of disappeared.
The vibe's gone, and there's a lot of anti kind of the international team stuff developing because we've been so bad to watch.